Hi everybody, today I am sharing my proven H. pylori treatment plan. So adequate stomach acid is needed to prevent the overgrowth of microbes like H. pylori in your stomach and your small intestine. When your stomach acid is too low, H. pylori thrives and it starts to multiply. It then works to decrease your acid even further so it can multiply even further. Now, if you have an adequate zinc intake, zinc can actually step in and stop this process from happening. But if you're zinc deficient, which is pretty common, your stomach acid is about to get even weaker. So then H. pylori will start to irritate your stomach lining once it is overgrown, and it very commonly leads to gastritis, which is an inflammation of the stomach lining. And if it's not stopped and it progresses further, it actually can create ulcers and holes in your stomach, which is a very big problem. So let's talk about how you can treat and heal H. pylori, which really means how to increase your stomach acid is the first step. So you want to ditch any antacids or PPI medicines because these are lowering your stomach acid, and we need to increase stomach acid so that H. pylori cannot thrive anymore. That is the key to healing. When you have more stomach acid, H. pylori just will not be able to live in your stomach. And if you do have the progression of gastritis or ulcers, I will talk about that at the end, what you need to do for that. But either way, you need to start increasing stomach acid, and it's just so important. If you do have gastritis or ulcers, you're going to be working on healing the lining of your stomach at the same time as increasing your stomach acid, and you're going to be going kind of slow on increasing stomach acid so you don't have to worry about burning the already sensitive skin in there, because this process is a little slower if you have that. And then I'm going to talk about how to speed it up if you don't have that, because if you don't have that, you can go a lot quicker. Anyway, so ditch the antacids and PPIs. You can come off these cold turkey. If you really want and that doesn't feel comfortable for you, you can take a week to gradually wean off of them, but they're doing so much harm, and it's really something that you can just come off of. So you also want to eat mindfully and relaxed. This just sets your whole digestive system up for success when you sit down to eat a meal. If you are relaxed, you're going to release more enzymes. You're going to release the right amount of stomach acid. It's just going to help you digest your food better. You also want to get enough of the nutrients that make stomach acid. So a lot of times low stomach acid can actually be a deficiency in certain nutrients. So that's going to be zinc, magnesium, potassium, chloride, and sodium. So I'm going to give you a few examples for each one on some foods you can get. This is not an exhaustive list, but just so you have an idea of where these nutrients come from. So zinc is very high in seafood. Oysters is like the king of zinc. Crab and lobster is also really good. Sea urchin as well. Beef and lamb also have zinc, and so does Parmesan and cheddar cheese. For magnesium, magnesium is such a random nutrient. It is in so many things, but also not all the things you eat all the time. So anyway, salmon roe is a really good source. Seafood like halibut, crab, mackerel, blueberries and strawberries, dried figs, pears, coconut milk, cacao, and soaked or toasted nuts. It's really important that you prepare your nuts properly. Otherwise, the magnesium is going to be bound to an anti-nutrient called phytic acid, and you're not going to be able to absorb it. Sodium, a quality salt, is the main source. If you salt your food to taste with a good quality salt, you're good here. But seafood and olives and salmon roe also have salt in them. Chloride, a quality salt, same thing. That's where you're going to get that. And then potassium, pork, bananas, halibut, sea urchin, trout, avocado, bamboo shoots, dates, dried figs, squash, potatoes, and cacao all have potassium. So you want to make sure you get enough of those, because those are the nutrients that make your stomach acid and will help you start making more again. And like I said, zinc is also protective against H. pylori overgrowth. The next thing is don't lay down for about 30 minutes after eating. You want to sit upright. This is mostly if you're also dealing with acid reflux, which is really common to have if you also have H. pylori. So that is mostly for that, but yeah, it'll just help you digest in your stomach a lot better. This one is also mostly for acid reflux, but I recommend you eat your last meal about 4 hours before you go to bed to prevent any nighttime reflux. It takes about 3 hours to digest a meal in your stomach and have the entire meal be transported down into your small intestine. And if you have weak stomach acid, it's often going to take longer. So that's why I recommend that. This is not for everybody. A lot of people can eat closer to bed, 2 hours before bed, an hour before bed, and be okay. But specifically, if you're dealing with this, you're going to probably do better if you avoid that, especially for people who get nighttime reflux. So then you want to support adequate bile flow. So if you don't know already, bile is a substance made by your liver, stored in your gallbladder, and then it's released in response mostly to you eating fat, but eating bitter foods or acidic foods can also stimulate it. And the purpose of bile is to break down your fat so that you can absorb it. That is the main purpose. Another purpose of bile, and another thing that's released by the pancreas, which is called bicarbonate ion, is to neutralize stomach acid. When your food, they actually call it chyme now, is leaving your stomach and going into your small intestine, it's very acidic, so you need the bile and the bicarbonate ion to neutralize it so that you don't burn your small intestine lining, because your stomach lining is made for that 1 to 3 on the pH scale, very acidic zone. Your small intestine is not. So if you have issues with your bile flow, sometimes your body will tone down your stomach acid production to help prevent burning your small intestine. So sometimes the key here is actually to improve your bile flow. Now I have a video that goes in depth into that, so I'll link that up above and down below if you want to check it out. But the number one thing there is eating enough animal fats. And if you're not tolerating fats well, it's to gradually increase the amount of animal fat that you eat. The next one is don't overeat. Overeating it will make your stomach very full and not very good at digesting properly. It'll also require more acid to be able to break everything down, and it'll also make you more prone to reflux. Then you want to avoid drinking plain water or non-acidic beverages 30 minutes before, during, or 30 minutes after a meal, because this will also dilute your stomach acid further and you're trying to get things stronger. So drinking water is important, but it needs to be done between meals. You don't want to do that with a meal. Then another thing you want to do is you want to eat fermented foods. I recommend at least 2/3 a cup every single day. Homemade is preferred, to decrease that H. pylori. Now I extra recommend sauerkraut, especially if you have gastritis, because the cabbage is really, really healing to your stomach lining. So you definitely need fermented foods in there to help your stomach microbiome and bring down that H. pylori. You also want to cut out snacking. You want to have at least 3 hours between every meal. Like I said, it takes about 3 hours to digest food in your stomach and bring it down into your intestines. So you need to digest an entire meal before you add more food on, or it just interferes a lot with your digestion. And then if you want to learn more tips on how to heal your gut and optimize your digestion, I actually have a free training on how to heal your gut issues by getting your digestive system to work like a reliable machine. So I will link that down below if you want to just learn even more about supporting your digestion and healing your gut. So now let's get into specifically people that have H. pylori. They have low stomach acid, they might have acid reflux, but they do not have gastritis and do not have an ulcer. Or you had that and now you've healed your gastritis or ulcer and are on to the next step of healing. So this is very strictly not for people with gastritis or an ulcer. You can increase the stomach acid further by taking apple cider vinegar water or an HCl, which is hydrochloric acid, stomach acid supplement. So if you're going the apple cider vinegar route, you want to do 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. You could also do lemon juice in a 16 flow ounce glass of water. So that is 2 measuring cups. And that is pretty typical glass. So you want to put the apple cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons to the 16 ounces of water, a pinch of quality salt in there. If you want, you can do some cinnamon and ginger powder. I really like that as well. I just think it tastes really good. And then you can have this with a meal. It's best to have it at the beginning of your meal, and it will help to increase the stomach acid and help you digest your meal better. Yeah, you can have it also if you have an acid reflux like flare and aren't feeling good. It can bring a lot of relief. I recommend you pick the meal you're most prone to getting reflux with and have it at that one. You could also have it at every meal, but if you're doing every meal, I would tone back the amount a little bit. So I would do half of it. So I would just do a cup of water, so 8 full ounces of water and 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and then you could have it with each meal if you'd like. So the other option is to take a butane HCl supplement. So if you're going this route, you want to take one with every single meal. And you want to take it after you've had a few bites. And then if everything feels well, you want to try 2 with each meal the next day. And you keep increasing by 1 until you find your sweet spot. Your sweet spot is like no more acid reflux and no warming sensation. So if you're still having acid reflux, you're not taking quite enough. And if you're getting this like warming sensation, you're taking too much. So you want to find the sweet spot, and you will want to be decreasing this with time as your body gets better at making its own stomach acid. Now, if you're a little unsure if you have gastritis or an ulcer or not, just go very slow and take a little bit and see how you react. If the apple cider vinegar water or HCl feels better, then keep doing it. You probably don't have gastritis. If it feels worse, you probably have gastritis and you want to pause that. Also, eating tends to feel better for people with gastritis or an ulcer, while eating tends to feel worse for people that don't have that and just have low stomach acid. So that's another clue to help you see if you have that or not. But anyway, if you do have gastritis or an ulcer, you definitely don't want to do that right now. And instead, you want to make sure you get plenty of L-carnosine to decrease inflammation. And that is so readily available in meat. So all you have to do is eat meat. Turkey, pork, beef, venison, chicken, and lamb are the best sources, so it is very easy to get enough as long as you're eating enough meat. You want to get plenty of vitamin D and zinc. This will lower cortisol and decrease stomach inflammation, so that's really important. I mentioned zinc sources earlier. Vitamin D, the sun is the best source, but fatty fish, cod liver oil are also good sources. Okay, so then you want to drink 8 to 16 flow ounces, so 1 to 2 cups of cabbage juice or wheatgrass juice every single day. And fresh pressed is ideal, so that's what you really need. So you want to get a juicer, and you're going to make this. Cabbage juice is better, but wheatgrass juice also works. They are so healing for your stomach lining. If you would like to spice things up, you can add more things in, like apple, carrot, pineapple, celery, or beetroot, but just make sure cabbage is like the majority of the juice. And then again, like I mentioned earlier, having sauerkraut regularly is really helpful. If you want to have more cabbage in your diet, that is perfectly fine as well. And you really want to do this solidly for 2 months before you start trying to add apple cider vinegar or HCl in again. So once you are feeling better, you can then progress to adding that in as well. And by doing these steps, you will increase your stomach acid. You'll heal any gastritis or ulcers and then be able to increase it further. And once your stomach acid is strong and in that 1 to 3 pH range, again, you just won't be able to overgrow H. pylori. It cannot survive in that acidic of an environment. So yeah, I hope you found that helpful. Remember, I do have that free training on how to heal your gut issues by getting your digestive system to work like a reliable machine. So I will have that linked below if you just want to learn more about how to heal your gut, what the fundamentals are, where to start. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.